In this video, I want to walk you through the Sink or Float lab. So the best way I think to get to this lab, or at least the easiest, I think, oceanography module, what was I thinking? It's in the oceanography as a science module. And then I'm going to scroll down. You can see there's useful stuff for the other labs. And then here's the instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. And then let's talk about it. Okay, so for this lab, you're going to want to make, you're going to do a lab like in person at your house. So you're going to need aluminum foil, pennies, water, and a big container to make a boat. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut a square foot of aluminum foil. You'll crumple it up in a ball, drop it in the water. Did it float or did it sink? Okay, so you're going to want to answer that. Okay. Then you're going to want to get another piece of square foot of foil, and you'll make a boat out of the foil. And then you'll place it on the water and discuss whether it floats. So you're going to want to answer this. Question 2. I'm just kind of highlighting this to make it easier for you to see what's on here. Then you're going to estimate how many pennies your boat will be able to hold. Okay, so however many you think, and then you're just going to keep putting a penny into the boat, one, then another one, then another one, then another one, into your boat before it sinks, and then you'll record this number. If you want to do a really good job, you could do it 3 times, but you don't have to. It doesn't say that you don't have to. Okay, so during your experiment, you're going to record qualitative and quantitative observations. Okay, so qualitative is, so that's going to be like, you know, I put a certain number of pennies in here and the boat sank lower in the water, something like that. It's going to be, the way I remember is it's basically words. Okay, you're not going to record any numbers or anything like that, just kind of what you see. And then quantitative, you may see that that kind of sounds like math, and that's going to involve numbers. Okay, so for example, the number of pennies in the boat before it sunk, that's going to be a quantitative observation. Okay. The answer to number 8 above. Okay. You want to describe the construction of your boat. If you want to take a picture, that's cool. You can write, was your boat wider than it was tall? Was it like a square? Was it like a, you know, an oval? Was it taller than it was wide? The shape of the boat. Did you fold the paper over it itself? Was it a single layer of foil? You know. You know, that kind of thing. And then you can draw a picture of the side view of your boat. You can use a drawing tool on your computer, or you can use, you can actually draw it. If you draw it on paper, you have to, you need to insert the image into your lab report. Okay, and then in your analysis and conclusion, you're going to answer these questions. Okay, so what was your hypothesis? If this many are put into the boat, then the boat will sink. Okay. So what is your independent or manipulated variable? This is the thing that you are changing. Okay. So in this experiment, you're changing the number of pennies, right? You're adding pennies to the boat. Okay. And so in this one, your dependent or your responding variable is what responded. So basically, your independent variable is whatever we're discussing in this first section. And then your dependent variable. So I'm going to highlight the independent variable in not pink, in blue. Okay. And then your dependent variable, I'm going to highlight in a different color. Okay. Just so you can see that they, I guess, green. Okay, so whether the boat sank or not, right? Or if we want to be more specific, we could be like how much of the boat is above the water, right? When it sinks, nothing's above the water, right? Is it a controlled experiment? Are you doing this out in the wild, or are you doing it yourself, right? Are you manipulating all of the variables? Okay. How many pennies did your boat hold, right? This is your answer to number 8 above. Okay. What feature of the construction of the boat do you think contributed to the number of pennies the boat held? Okay. I can't discuss this because I don't know what your boat looked like. Okay. What property of the foil to sink or float? This is an odd question. Maybe that might make more sense. And it being your boat. So, you know, what makes the, was your hypothesis supported? Was it, if it was supported, then you were correct. If it was refuted, and it's totally okay to be incorrect. It's not a problem. So, you know, don't go back and change your number just because it was different. Okay? And then what might you do differently? How might you build your boat differently, right? You know, what would you change about your boat? Okay, and then how might this lab provide useful information for the study of oceanography? So what do you think, how does this relate to oceanography besides the fact that it's a boat? Okay. Okay, now you're not just going to answer it like this, right? This lab, if you look here, it requires a lab report. Okay, so you're going to need a new document. Okay, and we can actually, if we go into the course, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put this right here, and I'm going to go into the course, and I'm going to go into the Dropbox folder for this assignment, and I have a reason for doing this. I'm going to look at the rubric, okay? So when I go in here, I'm not going to be able to see it because here, let me view as a student. And then I should be able to see it the right way. Okay. I'll be able to see what you see. Okay, sink or float lab. Okay, here we go. So here's our rubric, right? So it shows the different sections we need. Okay, so when we make a lab report, the first thing we want to do is our title is going to be centered. Okay, and we need a descriptive title. I'm not going to write your title for you. And then you're going to put your name here. Okay. And then we're going to have an introduction section. And then you'll have a method section, a results, an analysis section, and then a references section. Okay. So your introduction, if you want to get full points on this introduction, you're going to put this information in your introduction. You're going to state why you're doing the experiment, what you hope to learn, discuss the background of your topic. Okay, so your topic for this lab could be, it could be buoyancy. It could be ships. It could be best materials for making a ship or a boat. Okay, this lab is pretty broad. It's pretty vague, so you can be kind of vague, or you can be, kind of pick what you want to discuss as your background. What do you think is the purpose of this lab? Okay, and then you want to provide your educated guess of your results. Okay, that's going to be your hypothesis. And then you want to discuss, you want to justify why you think that. Okay, have you done an experiment like this before? Does it look like it's going to hold a lot of pennies? What do you think? Does it feel really sturdy? Does it feel really not sturdy? Does it look like it's floating well or not well? That kind of thing. Okay. In your methods, let's go back here. Okay, we want a step-by-step explanation of my experiment in addition to the rationale for my design. And so you're going to include all of your materials and you're going to do your procedure. Now, you cannot copy your procedure from the lab handout. Okay, if you copy your procedure from the lab handout, you'll lose points. You're not going to get full credit for that. Okay, so you want it to be detailed, but you don't want it to be like exactly what the procedure on your paper is. Okay, then I'm going to go look at this results section. Okay, so this results section shows exactly what I need to do for my lab. Okay, so this is the bulk of your lab, the most important part of your lab. You need data tables as necessary. This lab doesn't really need data tables. And paragraphs which describe your qualitative and quantitative observations. So for this lab, you definitely want to have those qualitative and quantitative observations that we discussed earlier, right? We'll write this here. Let me see. Okay. You want to describe the construction of your boat. Okay, I'll put the information we talked about here, there. Using the drawing tools, you want to draw a side view of your boat in the water. Okay, and this is what you're going to put in your results section. Okay, so your results section is going to have a lot of information in it. It's pretty important. Okay, then your analysis question, that's where you're going to answer all of these questions. And let's see what it has here. Oh, look, it has those questions right here. Imagine that. It's like this rubric was made just for this lab. Okay. Okay, if you have a lot of data, you could do graphs. We don't have a lot of data, so you don't have to do that. You don't have to construct a graph for this one. So I'm going to cross that part out just so you realize you don't have to do that for this lab. And this says data tables as necessary. You don't need those, so I'm going to cross that out. Okay, but you do need paragraphs and qualitative and quantitative observations. You want to include what you would do differently if you were asked to perform the experiment again. You want to explain what you learned and how well the data supported your hypothesis. And then for this one, you know, we can put the same information here. Okay, then we can, you know, we can put all this information here. That way you've got it. When you go to write your paper. And what I'll do is this document right here, I'll actually, I'll upload it to the course as a Word document. And that way you can just, you know, you've got this important information here, and then you can go. Now, the for this analysis section, you want to you can number these questions or you cannot. But if you don't number them, make sure that they are answered in a way that I can tell that you're answering them. Okay, because some students will they'll say, oh well, I answered that question, and I'll say, I didn't know that. Okay, I did not know that that was supposed to be your answer for that question. Okay, so we'll just put all this here, and then for your introduction, the introduction is usually where the information for the references come from. So, for example, if you're looking up buoyancy or ships or the best material for making a ship, you might find that information somewhere. Okay, and then you'll discuss here. You'll list your references here. Now, I'm going to include this part because it's really important. From the rubric, you need to use the links to the source. Okay, some students will say, you know, they'll say buoyancy, and then they'll say www.google.com. Well, that's not going to work, right? You can't do it like that. If you're going to do buoyancy, okay, let's say I looked up in the physics hyper textbook, I looked up buoyancy. Okay, here's my link right here, this thing up here. What is it called? The physics hyper textbook. And I could say retrieved, what is today? Okay, now I'm not sure I'm exactly doing this in APA format. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a link to this Purdue OWL. This Purdue OWL is awesome. It shows you how to write any type of APA, how to cite anything. Okay. And I'm going to put this link here. That way you've got it. Oops. So you can check it out, you know, when you look up this document or whatever, when you download this document from the website. Okay. So, but this is the more specific link. So that's what you would want to do. So here's your, you know, here's your lab report. And then you'll just upload it to the Dropbox folder. Okay. And that's all you have to do. Okay, and like I said, I will save this lab report sample, and I will put it, I'll show you exactly where I'm going to put it in the course. I'll link to it right here in the Jigsaw resources, and then I'll also put it in the Sink or Float labs somewhere around here. There'll be a link that says sample lab report for this or something like that. So anyway, hopefully that was useful, and you're ready to go.